Hello again. In this video, I want to take a little bit of time to talk about the 5 black minerals that you will see on your identification test coming up here. In my opinion, these minerals that are in front of you are the hardest to identify. They all look an awful lot alike. Obviously, they're all dark. A number of them also show fracture instead of cleavage, which means that they're going to have irregular lines to them. And depending on the sample, some of them really can look an awful lot alike. So the first mineral that I want to focus on is our sample of hematite. We've talked about this one in class a bit. Hematite, depending on the sample, can be a submetallic color or it can be kind of dull. The sample that I have in front of me isn't the most impressive that we have, but you'll notice, especially on this top face right here, that there are some parts that almost look like they have silver sprinkles on them. We have some samples that are even more vibrant than that. But sometimes the shiny texture will cue you into the fact that the mineral you're looking at is hematite. Another telltale property of hematite is its streak. So if I take my streak plate out right here, and I give it a nice good streak. Remember, when you're streaking, you don't have to go great guns. You can usually get by with one pass, maybe two. If you're having a hard time telling the color, you can smear it a bit with your finger to blend it out a little bit. And you'll notice that the hematite has a brownish red streak to it. Now, by contrast, I have a sample of magnetite right here. Magnetite, of course, we know is magnetic. That's one of its special properties. But on your mineral identification test, you will not have a magnet. So you're going to have to find a different way to be able to identify it. Magnetite, if I give it a streak, has a black, or some would say a dark gray streak to it. Again, I can smear it so they look a little bit more alike. You'll notice the hematite is brownish red and the magnetite is black. I might spend some time before the test finding a way to remind yourself, maybe create a mnemonic or some sort of a trick to remember that hematite is reddish-brown, hematite is brown, and magnetite is black. So that takes care of these two, but now what about the rest of our samples here? In the lower right-hand corner, I have a sample of graphite. Now, graphite, you probably recall, is the stuff that we have in our pencils, but this doesn't look much like a pencil to me. I don't know about you. You can also tell graphite apart from some of the other black minerals by its streak, but not for the same reason, not by the color. Graphite is a softer mineral, so soft, in fact, that it can scratch paper. If you think of your pencil, that should clue you into trying the streak. On your mineral identification test, I recommend that with the black minerals, you try streaking them all on your sheet. The one that produces a color, it'll be a gray or a black color, is going to be your graphite. The next mineral that I have here is a sample of mica. This is actually biotite mica. That's the darker version of it. Mica is fairly easy to identify because of its luster. People will say that it has a pearly luster. Some might say that it has a glassy luster, a greasy luster too. It's more reflective than the other minerals that you have in front of you right now. Another very distinct property is the way that it breaks. Mica cleaves and it does not fracture, and it only has one plane of cleavage. You'll notice that the sample in front of you is very thin. Sometimes they call mica samples books instead of just a sample or a rock. They'll say they have a book of mica. And the reason for that is because it will cleave only along one plane, so along one set of parallel sides, and it will be very thin and a very pure break. If you were to snap a piece of mica in half this way, you would notice that there would be fracture instead of cleavage. You can kind of see that that happened here, and the line is not nearly as straight. So that's your mica. And finally, over here in the corner, I have a sample of talc. Now, talc is the softest mineral of all of the minerals you have to identify. It's actually the softest mineral known to man. And it can be scratched very easily, notably by your fingernail. So when you have all of your dark minerals in front of you, you might also want to try scratching them with your fingernail. You'll notice that you can't make much of a dent in these. The graphite you can kind of get at a little bit. You might be able to pull some up. But with the talc, it will be very noticeable. You'll either be able to see a white streak in the mineral, or you'll be able to see a white powder under your fingernail. Talc is also a little bit lighter. I don't know if you can tell through the dot cam here. It's a little bit lighter than the other black minerals that you have in front of you. People might also say that it has a greasy luster instead of a dull luster or a submetallic luster.